So we want to evaluate the definite integral from -1 to 8 of 12 times the cube root of x dx. Let's see, this is going to be the same thing as the definite integral from -1 to 8 of 12 times, the cube root is the same thing as saying x to the 1/3 power dx. And so now, if we want to take the antiderivative of the stuff on the inside, we're just going to do essentially the power rule. You could view this as the power rule of integrals, or it's the reverse of the power rule for derivatives, where we increase this exponent by 1 and then we divide by that increased exponent. So this is going to be equal to 12 times x to the 1/3 plus 1. Let me do it in another color just so we can keep track of it. X to the 1/3 plus 1, and then we're going to divide by 1/3 plus 1. And so what's 1/3 plus 1? Well, that's 4/3. 1/3 plus 3/3, that's 4/3. So I could write it this way. I could write this x to the 4/3 divided by 4/3. And this is going to be, and I'm going to evaluate this at the bounds. So I'm going to evaluate this at, and I'll do this in different colors. I'm going to evaluate it at 8, and I'm going to evaluate it at -1, and I'm going to subtract it, evaluate it at -1 from this expression evaluated at 8. And so what is this going to be equal to? Well, actually, let me simplify a little bit more. What is 12 divided by 4/3? So 12, I'll do it right over here. 12 over 4/3 is equal to 12 times 3 over 4. Which we could view as 12 over 1 times 3 over 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So this is going to be equal to 9. 3/4 of 12 is 9. So this, we could rewrite this. We could write this as 9x to the 4/3 power. So if we evaluate it at 8, this is going to be 9 times 8 to the 4/3 power. And from that, we're going to subtract it evaluated at -1. So this is going to be 9 times -1 to the 4/3 power. So what is 8 to the 4/3 power? I'll do it over here. So 8 to the 4/3 is equal to 8 to the 1/3 to the 4th power. These are just exponent properties here. 8 to the 1/3, the cube root of 8. Or 8 to the 1/3 power, that's 2, because 2 to the 3rd power is 8. And 2 to the 4th power, well, 2 to the 4th power is equal to 16. So 8 to the 4/3 is 16. And what's -1 to the 4/3? Well, same idea. -1 to the 4/3 is equal to -1. There's several ways you could do it. You could say -1 to the 4th, and then the cube root of that, or the cube root of -1, and then raise that to the 4th power. Either way. So let's do it the first way. -1 to the 4th, and then take the cube root of that. Well, -1 to the 4th is just 1, and then 1 to the 1/3 power, well, that's just going to be equal to 1. So what we have here in blue, that's just equal to 1. So we have 9 times 16 minus 9 times 1. Well, that's just going to be 9 times 15. We have 16 nines, and then we're going to take away a 9. So that's going to be 9 times 15. So what is that? That is going to be equal to 9 times 15 is 90 plus 45, which is equal to 135. 135, and we're done.